Hey guys, we're on day 155 in our Bible reading plan, and today we're going to be reading in the book of Proverbs, Proverbs 4, 5, and 6. So Proverbs 4 is all about good, wise instruction from the Father. It's about following the Father's wise instruction and staying on the paths of righteousness, living in the way of wisdom. Proverbs 4, starting in verse 3, says this: "When I was a son with my father, tender, the only one in the sight of my mother, he taught me and said to me, 'Let your heart hold fast to my words, keep my commandments and live,'" which should echo as you're reading through this exactly what God says to Israel. "Keep my commandments and I will continue to bless you, and I will be with you, and I will dwell among you." Here we read that the Father's wise instruction is this: let your heart hold fast to my words, keep my commandments, and live. Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. Over and over again in this proverb, we hear this, hear my son, accept my words. The Father calling out to the Son to listen to his words, to obey his commands. And then in Proverbs 5, we have a warning against adultery. And in verses 21 through 23, we read this. It says, "For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray." And then in chapter 6, in Proverbs 6, we read a list of just good sound advice and of warnings. We read that if you're indebted to your neighbor and you can't fulfill it, then go to them immediately. Don't wait. Don't let the matter sit, but take care of it immediately. If you're lazy, if you're a sluggard, it says, be like the ant who works tirelessly without accountability. And then we have this warning that calamity is going to come on the unrighteous who lack integrity. And then toward the end of Proverbs 6, we have another warning against adultery. And right in the middle, we have this. It says, "There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and a hand that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among his brothers." This followed with another warning against adultery. It just reminds me of the progression of what God gives his people in his commandments. He says, worship the Lord your God only, obey my commands, do not worship other gods, don't create false gods for yourself, because God is a jealous God. And it just reminds me of the picture of God's desire for our worship, God's desire for our allegiance, God's desire for our hearts, for our love. And also, he wants us to be wholly committed to him, to obey the Father's instruction, to walk in the paths of righteousness that he's already laid out for us. And if we stray to the right or to the left of that narrow path that we walk when we're doing those things, we find ourselves falling into adultery. And I don't necessarily mean that's the only sin that you will commit against the Lord, because maybe you're not even married. I'm not talking about regular adultery in the confines of marriage here, but sort of as a symbol, just remembering that anything we commit our heart to, other than to the Lord, other than to obeying his commands and following his ways, when we commit our heart, we're breaking that covenantal relationship. We're breaking our covenantal relationship that our hearts will be for the Lord and committed to the Lord only when we start chasing after other things and following other teachings and other ways and following other people and loving money, or even in being lazy and loving ourselves and our own time more than our time with the Lord. Just that idea, though, that that's a covenantal relationship that we have as Christians with our God, and that when we chase after other things, that's like committing adultery. It's like breaking that marriage covenant to go and be with and love someone else. And so it's just a good reminder to me as I was reading through these today of what we're spending our time on. How am I spending my time? Does what I'm doing reflect my love of God? And how can I bring God into those spaces with me where I'm excluding him? How can I include him in greater ways in each moment of my day so that my heart stays on this narrow path and doesn't wander to the right or to the left. That was my reflection today. I hope it encourages you. I'd love to hear your reflection and how the Lord is speaking to you, what stands out to you in these readings today. Go ahead and drop a comment in the Bible app, and have a great day, guys.